So this audio, I'm going to discuss the black sheep. I'm going to discuss the black sheep. What makes one a black sheep? Okay. So now a very, very pivotal moment in my life. It was very impactful, and I really didn't know until I thought about it in my adult years, and now I know exactly when I realized I was the black sheep. I didn't know the terminology. I was too young to really understand the terminology or apply the terminology black sheep, but I remember the exact day that it happened in my life. So I was in elementary school, and we all used to just go out at recess and play together. And so I think maybe the summer, we came back from a summer break, or maybe it was the beginning of a new school year. I can't remember what break it was, but we all were getting back to school from whatever it was, Christmas break, summer break, or the beginning of a new school year. But I remember being, I think this was like around the 5th or 6th grade that this happened. I want to say 6th grade. And, I was used to all of us playing together. We jump rope at recess, hopscotch, hide and go seek, tag, we just played with the balls, we played. And so I remember this one particular day, coming back from whatever break it was. We all just, when the bell rung and the doors opened and we took off running onto the playground, I remember the more popular children, I didn't know they were that popular until this particular day. And they was running, and then people were following, and I was running, and I'm thinking we all gonna meet together and play like we usually do. But the more popular children, which don't ask me about these popular people now. They all done been on crack. That's another story for another day, okay? We ain't gonna talk about it. So they were popular then, okay? And so I remember running, and they took a left, and we ran left, and they took a right, and we ran right. And I could run pretty fast, but I stopped and I said, why? I remember asking myself, little girl, young girl, why am I chasing? Who am I chasing, and why? Like, we ain't really playing chase or tag or nothing right now. So what's going on? So I stopped, and I noticed that the popular kids, they would congregate together, and then they would move when someone that they didn't want in their clique. And again, at the time, I didn't know the terminology black sheep. I didn't know the terminology clique, but I saw clearly what was going on as a child. And there were certain people that they only wanted to be in their group. I saw that clearly. And they would run away if others joined them. And so you had to really, really be a follower. I mean, you really had to just keep chasing them, and then they eventually accept certain people that kept chasing them. A lot of times those people would be the butt of their jokes or whatever, but I observed that day. And I mean, I remember like it was yesterday, and I'm 41. And I remember asking myself, why am I running this hard, and where are we going? And, and I just didn't see the point. I felt like if they wanted to play with me, then they'd stop running at some point, and we'd play like we normally did. So that was the day that I noticed cliques were formed. And I saw how hard some people work to be a part of those cliques. And that day I knew I was different. Didn't know the terminology black sheep, but I knew that day I was different. Because I didn't feel like I needed to work that hard to be a part of a group, So I would play by myself and play with the children that wanted to play with me. And other classes would come out for recess and I'd play with them. And I still played and I still was happy. But I knew the next day when they took off and they did the same thing and they ran from certain people, and then when certain people came up to the group, they would all take off running and move to another location. I would observe that, and I knew I wasn't a part of that clique that day. I knew that. So that moment in my life, it molded me, into who I am today, which, so for the rest of my school tenure, I would always just hang out with people that were not that popular, right? They might be cool, but they might be loners, might be from another state, but whatever the case was, they didn't have a crowd with them. And those were the people that I would befriend. I found myself from that day going forward always befriending the underdog. Let me tell you a painful, real lesson of life that I learned about defending the underdog. I used to hate bullies, right? And I wasn't a violent child, even though I grew up in the hood. And I saw people fight every day. And I even got jumped and cut up. My face cut up when I was in the 4th grade with brass knuckles by these 2 twin sisters. Well, I meant not twin sisters. They were 2 sisters. And, they apologized and told me it was a case of mistaken identity. They were, kind of new to the town. But my face was all cut up by that time. And they wanted to be friends with me after the fact. And I was like, I'm cool. Like, no thanks, But that day that I got cut up with the brass knuckles, and I couldn't have been more than 10 years old. I had friends that I had slept over at their house. They slept over my house, next door neighbors. And they sat there and they watched me get jumped by 2 girls. And nobody stopped it. My face was all bloody, blood running in my eyes from the brass knuckles, because one sister was in the 6th grade. She was a real big girl. And the other one was in my grade. And she was a real big girl. And so, I fought, but I wasn't a violent person. Not at that time. But things like that created me to have anger, and I later became violent in my young adult years, because those things that happen to us as children, it will impact us forever. believe it or not. So, but adults take responsibility. At a certain point, what makes you an adult is when you say, hey, this stuff happened to me. I'm angry, but I can't blame these things that happened to me. I can't blame my behavior on my experiences forever. That's what makes you an adult. When you have adults that are still, because you're always going to be traumatized, man. I've talked to older people, senior citizens, and they still can tell you stuff from their childhood that traumatized them, and it's just as painful in their adult years as it was when they were a child, But again, what makes you an adult is you acknowledge that trauma, but you don't allow that to be the reason for excuses for why you do wrong things, So, the underdog, back to the underdog. Because I knew what it felt like being alienated. Also, within my family, I wasn't raised with my biological siblings. So it always seemed like they had a bond together that I couldn't penetrate no matter how hard I tried, I would try to give one sibling everything that I had, and she would take whatever I had when she came over to visit. Anything good that I had, she would take it, and and I wanted to be included and bonded to that sibling so bad that, but I knew it wasn't right. But anyway, me knowing what it felt like to be excluded early on as a child made me always be inclusive with others. And so I hated bullies. And even though, like I said, I wasn't violent as a young girl, I grew up in a rough part of town in the South. And so I had to get into some altercations, some physical altercations that I never wanted to be a part of. So I didn't like bullies. So I would always take up for the underdog. And I remember this particular time, it was this girl. Her name was Tanya Toto. No lie. I wish I could find this girl just to see where she's at in life today. But her name was Tanya Toto. And her grandfather made her shoes out of wood. I kid you not. And the kids picked on her. And she was from New York, and her mom was on drugs, and she just came from a very rough situation to a very poor situation in South Carolina. And man, I would take up for this girl. They would pick on her. I would befriend her. I would hang out with her at recess and share candy with her and things of that nature. And even though I wasn't violent, I really wasn't scared of people. I never wanted to get in violent altercations and fights and stuff, but I wasn't afraid of people, So I remember they told her, because back at that time, you put dirt in your hands. You put both of your hands together. You put dirt in it. And then they instigate a fight in elementary school. And they say, somebody will hit the dirt and say, ooh, she knocked your mom out the bed. Now, my mom was my biological mother was dead. So it really supposed to be a big deal for me because my mom's dead and you knocking her out the bed, right? So this girl, they pushed her up to fight me. She ended up biting my nail off, but I ended up putting her head in the toilet. That's, in the fight, we fought in the girls' bathroom, and I had her in a headlock, a mean headlock. I ain't got but a few moves when I fight. Chokeholds, headlocks, my favorite, right? I get you in a chokehold or a headlock, you don't stand a chance. Not if you a chick. It ain't gonna work. So, because they have worked on guys, so I know. But anywho, I ended up, I was adrenaline pumping. It's a fight. So I didn't even notice that the girl bit my nail off, my finger. It had to grow back. It was pus. It was ugly. And, but while I had her in the headlock, she was biting my finger. And I put her head in the toilet, you know what I'm saying? But she turned on me just to be accepted by the popular kids that picked on her every single day. Every single day they picked on her, they excluded her, and I would befriend her, and she didn't want just one loyal friend. She wanted to be a part of the popular crowd, And I had to learn more lessons. That was my first lesson in dog, I helped her out. I made sure they didn't bully her too bad. I would take up for her. I would talk to her when they didn't, and she turns against me. Well, I had to learn that lesson quite a few more times throughout my school. Throughout my schooling, all the way through high school, still taking up for the underdog. Some of the underdogs will bite you worse than the other dogs. That's what I learned. The underdog will bite you worse than the other dog because they want to be a part of the other dog so bad that they will do anything. And that means throw your ass under a bus, no problem. They want to be accepted that bad. And so I had to go through quite a few experiences in life, taking up and defending the underdogs, and then they end up showing their loyalty to the people that treated them like crap because they wanted to be accepted by the majority, and I was the minority. So, now, still in my adulthood, moving fast forward to my adulthood, I still found myself to be the black sheep. Go to work, corporate America, try to play the game. We have group projects, some kind of way. Everybody likes me at first. They see a little bit too much of leadership in me. They start clicking up. I'm not a part of the clique. They're all going out to lunch. I wasn't invited. So once again, I'm kind of kicking it with the people that aren't a part of the popular crowd. No problem. All in my family, black sheep, black sheep. I wasn't with the older generation of my family, and they all passed away and gone now. But when it came to the younger ones, I wasn't included. I was excluded from everything, And they would tell me they love me, but I'm not invited to this. And so that affects your self-esteem for sure. And you can't help but wonder what's wrong with me. So, in my second marriage, I ended up partying with him because he was an underdog, but he thought he was popular. But he was popular by affiliation. He had a popular cousin that had got killed, but he was one of the kind of people, like, he didn't care if you invite him or not. He's coming. He's coming to the party. He's coming to the setting up. He's coming. He didn't care who, and he didn't need an invite. And I was total opposite. But because I was married to him, I ended up going to all the parties and all the gatherings in the hood that we didn't necessarily get invites to, that we invited ourselves to. And, and so, I started drinking, and smoking weed too much to let people know I was cool. Like, it's no reason to I know I look like, something else, but I'm really down. And so, it wasn't until I got out of all that I realized peer pressure is a mug. And even adults can be peer pressured, and you think, okay, as an adult in your 30s, you're definitely too strong to be peer pressured, because I wasn't peer pressured in my 20s. But I wanted people to know that I wasn't a threat, that I wasn't sedity, stuck up, whatever I looked like, I wasn't that. I was really down to earth and would accept anybody. Too much so, actually. And so I wanted people to know that. So I drank a little more and smoke a little more. And, to let people know that I was one of them, And it didn't work. It didn't work. And people still saw my greatness. I'm going to be bold enough to say that right now. People still saw my greatness, even though I was trying to dim my light and I was trying to fit in, let everybody know that I'm accepting and I don't judge people. What I got to do? Drink a little more for you to accept me? What I got to do? Smoke a little more weed? What I got to do? So, like I said, never went through that in my 20s. That was like in my mid 30s, like where I'm sitting here finding myself doing things to fit in. And what I didn't know was I wasn't supposed to fit in. And not only that, but now knowing that the universe, my angel guides, my ancestors protect me and guide me. Now I know that they were protecting me and guiding me. And so they would never let me hit rock bottom with those people. Now, I hit rock bottom probably a time or two. I would say I hit rock bottom like at least 2 times in my life. I hit rock bottom at least 2 times in my life. I was going to jail a lot at one point, but I was doing it by myself. And I went to jail with my husband one time. But after that, I was just a bad girl all by myself. I didn't need no help getting in trouble, okay? And so, and then I hit another rock bottom where I just lost everything, trying to do something good for my life. And I ended up homeless. And I had to get it out the mud by myself, and all the people that I helped when I had money. I'm talking about I was sitting on, like, I was taking care of so many people at one point in time. I mean, I remember $60,000 just sitting in my bank account at one point in time. I remember $85,000 sitting in my bank account. I remember having annuities, mutual funds, stocks, bonds, real estate. I was the shit. And I was taking care of everybody. And then when I hit rock bottom from trying to relocate and I got sick, and man, nobody gave a damn. Nobody gave a damn. So now I'm gonna say nobody. I had 2 cousins and a homeboy, and he didn't have much money, but he'd slide me a 20 or so. I had another cousin, she didn't have much money, but she slid me 50. Had another cousin, she slid me 300. You know what I'm saying? So I won't say nobody, but the people that I took care of when I was going to jail and stuff like that, at that point in my life, they was ashamed of me, you know? And it was like, wait a minute, I did all of this to kind of be down with y'all, and now you ashamed of me because I'm going to jail? I remember talking to one of my siblings. She didn't say, hey, what's wrong with you? What's going on with you? What you know, she was just like, I better not hear about you going. It was like bringing the family shame, you know, no, but nobody gave a fuck what I was going through. Didn't care about the depression that I was going through, the isolation that put me in that situation. It was just, hey, you know, you got our last name, so don't shame us, type of shit. So, so I want to say this, because I might be dead and gone before the right person hear my videos, or the audios, but I still want to let somebody know that you're the black sheep because you're protected. You don't see your protection, so other people have, you know, protection here on earth. Some people have protection here on earth. Some of us have protection that's in the spiritual realm, and so because you cannot see it, you think you're all alone. But that's who says you're better than that. You're better than them. They always felt like you were better than them. You never felt that way. But they felt that way. And then the ancestors agree with them. You're better than them. You ain't going to do some things they do. Okay? You ain't going to screw your cousins. You know what I mean? So that's why this family member don't like you. You understand? You ain't gonna turn your head when people do immoral, corrupt things. So they knew that your morals was gonna be higher than theirs, and they didn't even want to mess with you. And a lot of it is jealousy. Plain, old-fashioned jealousy. Envy. They see something in you that's great, whether you can see it or not. And oftentimes you don't even see it. You don't even see it until you get truly, truly isolated. And you say, well, damn, you know, I did this, I did that, I did everything they wanted me to do. I showed up and showed out for everybody, you know. But they saw your greatness. And a lot of people feel like you're going to dim their shine. They feel like you're going to dim their shine. So they don't even want you around. Because you shine too bright. And they feel like you're going to take some of the light off them. And so no matter how humble you try to be, it's never going to be enough. It's never going to be enough, because when greatness lies inside of you, you can't hide it for shit. You can literally do anything and everything. You can get as dirty and mucked up as you want to get. But that light is still a halo over your head. I do believe that there's some earth angels. And I do believe that a lot of black sheep are earth angels. And so, in that case, you don't come. You wasn't created or reincarnated, or whatever you believe. Your existence is not to fit in, but to stand out. Your existence is to make a difference. And people are always going to resist change, even though you hadn't said a word about change. They know that you're just that powerful. And you have what we call magnetic. And that magnetic can change shit. It can shake the environment up. People don't want to be stirred up. So if they sense that magnetic from you, they're going to exclude you. Okay? They're going to exclude you. And in that case, you have to build your own tribe. You know what I'm saying? And you're going to have to do a whole lot of time in isolation by yourself in this world. And when you begin to love yourself, you actually don't mind being by yourself, because you know that you're a pretty dope person. You know what I'm saying? So, I hope this helps somebody out there, but you're a black sheep for a reason. Don't let it get you down. Just shine. Just shine brighter. Like, do whatever it takes for you to shine brighter. Whatever your next move in life is, whatever those dreams that are lying dormant in you, whatever your passions are, pursue them. If you don't know what your passions are and you're not able to dream, then start. It's not too late. You're still here. So start dreaming and discovering your passion. Then take that passion to a whole nother level and shine bright on them.